Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Real Talk. I hope you're all happy, healthy, and safe. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is a platform for open minded individuals to come together, share ideas, share experiences. So if you're new to the channel, please click that subscribe button, like, share. We want to get as many people on as possible. And if you're new to the channel and you want to get in touch with us, all our information is in the description below. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and of course YouTube. So please do get in touch with us. And moving straight on, I would love to introduce my two guests who've been on before. Welcome back, gentlemen. How are you guys doing, Triv and Chris?
Good. Happy to be
Good,
back.
thanks.
It's been a while
Thanks
since we've been on the Real Talk. So yeah, looking forward to the chat today.
Yeah, no, definitely. As always, we always have interesting chats. And before I continue to introduce the topic, I just wanted to add that this is a platform and everyone has their opinions and their ideas and experiences. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have to agree with them. And that's why this channel is open for anyone. So if you don't agree with something, we don't claim to be experts on everything. So if there is an expert out there and do you have more knowledge and information, please get in touch with us. We would like to come on. We don't want this to be an echo chamber. We want to have healthy debates. Even though I do mention this is a platform for like-minded individuals, we might have similar ideas but different ways of doing things. So it's a great platform to share, come debate. And, you know, like with debates and with discussions, we can learn from each other. So yeah, if you don't agree with something, please let us know and we can definitely get you on. Moving on, today we're going to speak on basically nutrition and health and diet, basically, which is quite interesting. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions leading on to the bigger discussion that we're going to have later on. I'll start with Chris. Now we're talking about health and diet, so this is kind of a question that you might be wondering why I'm asking, but we're going somewhere with this. So just a quick question, Chris, you live in South Africa. I've lived in South Africa.
Yes.
Trev is from South Africa. So how much does a Big Mac meal cost in South Africa versus compared to like a healthy option of like salad or something healthy like from Kauai or something?
Okay, so a Big Mac meal, a regular, costs you 58 Rand, 90 cents. So, and a salad, actually, you don't even need to go as far as Kauai. A salad at McDonald's itself costs you 69 Rand.
Oh, wow. Okay. Triv,
Yeah.
same question to you. You live in China, so what are the two differences?
Okay, so a Big Mac here costs about 38 kwai, which would come to about roughly 80 Rand, equivalent to Chris's figure. And salad here, you're looking at about starting at 55, 60 kwai, so maybe that's 110, 120 Rand to equate it to Chris's 80 Rand McDonald's salad.
Yeah. Okay, and I live in Luxembourg, so we're talking about three different continents, right? A Big Mac meal is around 8-9 euros, and normally, like because we're in lockdown, we use this app called WeDeli, which is a takeaway app. So I looked at the healthy options. A meal is around 17 euros for a healthy meal, right? So it's almost double the price. So now moving on from that, Chris, I'll come back to you again. In your given area or city, how many shops or restaurants are there available that provide healthy options versus restaurants and supermarkets and all shops providing junk food?
So, being in South Africa, I live in Cape Town, so there is actually a big variety of health foods. In South Africa, well, especially in Cape Town, the accessibility is not as much the problem. It's the affordability. So you can get healthy options, lots of them. It's just most people can't actually afford them. So there's a lot of restaurants in certain areas, especially in town, where you can get healthy options. But as I said, it's the affordability, not the accessibility, that's the problem.
Yeah, no, great point. Triv, same question to you.
I think it's a little bit different in China because of the type of food that they generally eat here. Like I think Chinese food in general is quite healthy. So if you're willing to eat local food in China, yeah, it is accessible, and I'd say if you're looking at 10 stores, 3 or 4 of them are now McDonald's or Starbucks that have fast food, and 6 or 7 of them are going to be local stores that will sell you rice, bit of veg, and a bit of chicken.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you in my area, I have an Indian restaurant, a Chinese restaurant, and an Italian restaurant. And then we have like a Starbucks, it's something different, it's called Fisher. Now, like you said, maybe Chinese is your healthiest option. It's not the healthiest,
Yeah.
but you can see those are the kind of restaurants around my area. So if I want to go out and eat, that is the issue. Now, the reason why I ask these questions, which is now quite obvious, is first of all, like Chris mentioned, affordability. So yes, we want to all eat healthy and live healthy and have good nutrition. But again, if you're not earning well, it's very difficult for you to get there, right? To buy healthy options. Secondly, accessibility. We all discussed this. Around our areas, we don't have many healthy options, right? Even if you go online, I looked for healthy options, and honestly, they're not that healthy. And the ones that are, like I said, is double, triple the price of a normal junk meal. So that is a really big issue. Like, we all promote, I mean, everyone's trying to promote healthy living, which is great. But then how do we get there if we don't have access? And yeah, people will argue we can cook at home. But then there's a bigger issue here. And that's why I want to go back to Chris on this. And I'll link this to the issues that we're going to discuss now. So what do you think are the impacts of a poor diet? It's pretty obvious. But now we're talking globally in terms of, yeah, basically what do you think a poor diet, how big of an impact does that make on a human being?
Oh, huge. Um, your nutrition is how you get your vitamins and your everything that your body needs to function. You get from your nutrition. So if your nutrition is off, your body is going to be off. And they say healthy body, healthy mind. So if your body is not operating at its peak, your mind isn't, and you as a human, you're not going to live up to your full potential. Illness becomes an issue. People
Yeah.
who don't eat properly and have certain deficiencies, there's illnesses that will plague those people, and it has a massive influence on the quality of a person's life, on how the nutrition that they get. I'd imagine also if you look at figures of life expectancy, you live much longer if you have a good solid nutrition.
Yeah.
So no, massive impact without a doubt.
Of course. And it might seem like we're speaking about the obvious, right? So basically the bigger issue here is that a lot of countries where there's poverty, and especially because we have all lived in Africa, Chris, you still live in Africa, in Asia, in the poorer parts of the world, the accessibility to good food is very, very rare. And they have this staple diet, which doesn't give them all the nutrients. And that's the cheapest form of diet they can afford, right? So you get your maize and corn, and even though it'll give you some nutrients, it's not going to be an all-rounded nutrients that you need for your body. So it leads to like risk of dying, starvation, malnutrition, delayed growth, brain impairment. All the kids, especially kids in Africa, we've seen these pictures everywhere, starving kids. And that's not big. Yes, they're poor, but it's also the accessibility. So they have either your malnutrition or overnutrition, where you get protein or something, just one nutrient. And then, you see some kids, they're so skinny, having a big stomach. That's because of diet, right? So they only get fat, calories, and all that kind of nutrition. And even though in higher income countries like sugar, fat, red meat, they increases the risk of heart disease and diabetes and cancer and all of that, that usually comes on later on in life. In poorer countries, these kids don't have access to fruits, vegetables, eggs, meat, fish. So they are already at risk from such a young age. And like I mentioned, the development of their body and their brain is not up to speed. Then they have to go through a poor education system, a poor then higher education. So they're already way, way, way back in that race. So nutrition even if you give them good education, will they be able to cope? If you're hungry and you're starving and you don't have enough nutrients in your body, how are you going to become a all-rounded, adult individual? It's a lot of issues. And I just want to give, sorry, one more fact. Niger is now one of the poorest countries in the world, right? It's in Africa. For those of you who don't know the world map, people's staple foods include rice, bread, or corn. So eggs would be a really good nutrient boost, right? Because it has a lot of density and a high quality in protein and wide range of micronutrients. But this makes them a superfood. But the problem is, in Niger, eggs are 23.3 times as expensive as the other food. So these guys can't even afford eggs because they have to export it from USA, and it just becomes more expensive. So you can see there's a lot of issues here. Now, I know I've spoken a lot and I want to move on. Triv, I'll ask you this question. Do you think that there has been a change in the last 10 years when it comes to looking at healthy eating or nutritional value in terms of price, accessibility, and culture?
I think there's been a change more than anything else in awareness of the importance of eating healthy. In terms of price, a little bit. I don't think the change has been big enough to actually reach the people that need it. I think it's been more affordable in terms of bringing somebody who was previously a top tier earner who could afford salads. Maybe now somebody sitting in the second or third tier can afford that salad or that organic food. But people sitting below that still don't have the ability to buy their food. To take China, for example, that salad that I spoke about earlier in the video, costing 55, 60 RMB in China. The average person in China pays about 15, 20, 25 RMB per meal. That's three times more than what they need to pay for a salad. So in terms of prices, I think there's been a little bit of a change, but I don't think that it's been big enough to allow accessibility and equality for everybody to be able to afford what it is that they need to put into their body for them to be able to function mentally and physically on the same level as somebody who can afford this healthy food. The other part of it is it's not just about eating food. Like I'm trying my best to eat a healthy, balanced diet right now, and I've still got to take a multivitamin supplement with that because it's not possible to get all the nutrients you can just from foods. And you need to eat too much of a specific food. If you're trying to stay under calories, you can't eat too much of that to get all your nutrients. So you're looking at extra multivitamin tablets and stuff like that. And that's with a healthy diet. So people that don't have this ability to eat that healthy diet, I don't think that the gap has been narrowed in the last 10 years.
So I'm just going to on the culture part, right? So we see like veganism is becoming a big thing now. Everyone is talking about it, and I understand that because even though I like meat, we all like meat, right? And it does have some nutritional value, of course, but we know what goes on behind, how the meat is processed and how animals are treated badly. So I get that point of view. Triv, I'm still going to stay on you. Do you think veganism is a good thing, and do you think the way it's being promoted is a good thing?
Yeah, so look, I think that veganism in general, and the consequences that it has on the planet is a positive thing. In terms of, the cruelty to animals and stuff like that is something that is very dear to my heart. And I know that there's a lot of people that do have compassion for animals that are being slaughtered in inhumane ways. So veganism in terms of the carbon emission, our carbon footprint, there's very positive impacts of that that stem from veganism, but it's not real. It's not the percentage of people who are able to make this impact is negligible because a simple loaf of white bread, for example, let's use rand, a common currency between the three of us. If that loaf of white bread costs 11 or 12 rand for a loaf, A loaf of organic, gluten-free, wheat-free, milk-free, whatever it is, vegan bread is like 25 rand. It's not
Yeah,
even a
we're going back to the
percentage.
same point. Yeah, yeah, because it's just expensive, right? That's the
Yeah.
problem. But what my I want to further go into that question is that veganism is good, like you mentioned. It's
Yeah.
sustainable, but do you think it should be like almost like an obligation for us to be eating or becoming vegan so that we can help the planet?
I think the only way that that becomes an obligation is if world governments come together to meet the average human being in that obligation, because it's not fair to expect the average man on the street to spend double the price on a loaf of bread because it's going to save the planet. It's not possible. That person's just going to
Yeah,
starve. So I think that the uh, the importance there lies with companies, with local governments to make vegan products, to make organic products cheaper, more accessible, and more available to the common man, not to the top tier earners, because a vegan product is just more expensive than anything else. And
yeah,
there might be places that sell it a little bit cheaper, but it is down to government to make healthy food. I know in the UK there's been a massive drive to make their food available in their school system healthier as well. So yeah, I think it comes down to government,
yeah.
not to the average person being forced and told you have to be vegan. That's not possible.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I asked that because there is a culture, not just on veganism, but on everything, where the idea is good, but then the execution is just a little bit off because you get this expectation of doing things right. But then, like you said, you can't ignore the fact that it's not easy to do all these things because we don't have the accessibility or the affordability. And you already touched on that, Triv. So I'm going to continue with that with Chris. Trev already mentioned, try to get these foods accessible and affordable. So what else can be done to improve nutrition, especially in the poorer countries and for the people that need it the most? Because here on the Real Talk, we do speak more about people who are in real need, and that's why we want to have a conversation so that we can get ideas to help those people. So, Chris, in your opinion, what else can be done?
Look, Triv already touched on it. This is a case of it has to come from the top. So governments, companies who are in the nutritional field need to come together and find solutions because especially in poorer countries, it's not down to the average citizen because there's nothing they can do. So it has to come from the top. There has to be policies put in place. I don't know how they're going to do it. Put treaties in place with other countries to facilitate trade in certain
Great point.
goods.
Yeah.
So, but again, this has to come from the top, and unless governments, I mean, let's be honest, most poorer countries are that poor because of mismanagement in government. So, as ideal as it sounds, I think having governments come on board with that is a bit of a stretch, but that's where it would need to start.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and like we said, we don't have the answers to all these questions and solutions, but what we do is we try to discuss, and hopefully, other people who are experts can come in and give their point of view. Just one thing I would like to add with what can be done is like I know there has to, especially in the poorer countries where they like, let's say a lot of countries which are poor. Not, I know the government is an issue, but also the weather. They have drought and they don't have the temperatures or the weather to grow food or all kinds of fruits and vegetables. So maybe a little bit of more R&D, research and development in agriculture to improve productivity of this nutrient dense foods. So like you already mentioned, the trading barriers should be lifted, taxes should be completely lifted, and I know in some countries they do that for healthy foods, but then because that will impact the price if you don't tax foods that are high in nutritional value and will give nutrition to those people, then they shouldn't be taxed. So I think that's another point we can try look into. Yeah, so Triv, is there anything else you want to add finally when then we can close this conversation?
Yeah, I think it comes. It's as simple as this. Like in terms of veganism, Human greed is standing in the way of us progressing in so many different facets. Like with regards to this food, Chris touched on it just now. Governments and private companies need to come together to make veganism a lifestyle so we can save the planet that we live on. What is the point of us making billions and billions and billions of dollars or pounds or whatever it is that you're earning if we're not going to have a planet to spend it on? So I think at some point something that's more important than money needs to take over. And I think if there's
that's a whole other discussion. I think we
Yeah.
can have a series on that. What needs to be done to save the planet, and we will. And thank you, gents. Chris, if you have nothing to add, we can close this chapter. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, thanks very much.
And
All
viewers out there, and if there are any food or nutrition experts, get in touch with us. Are there a lot of basically obstacles to get to where we need to be able to help everyone and provide nutritional value, especially for those poorer countries with kids starving, not being able to develop into adults who can be productive in society and live their best lives? And that's what we are trying to achieve at the Real Talk. So if there are any experts, please just don't sit there and disagree with everything we say. Why don't you give us a shout, and we can come on and you can educate us even more. So why these things are difficult to do, why the prices are so high, or why the accessibility is so bad, so that we can come up with better solutions and maybe work from there. Thank you everyone for staying tuned and staying with us. And if you would like to come on, like I mentioned, all our information in the description. If you like what we're trying to achieve here, please click on that like button, subscribe. It helps us to push the video forward and get more people on it. So thank you very much. Take care.
YouTube loves comments.
Of course, drop a comment. If you're not comfortable coming on and speaking out, we respond to all comments. You can look at all our videos. We do go back and respond to every comment. So please do that, and thank you again. And we will be back very, very soon. So take care, everyone, and goodbye.